What's going on, guys? Bingo here. I'm with the Dual Factory for this week's episode of X-2 Drop. This is episode 12, I believe, and it's a weekly podcast we do focusing on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, anything going on in the community, or what we feel about it at the current moment. So, this week, we kind of stuck on a rough topic of, a competitive player versus a casual player mindset and everything going into events and stuff that entails. But we really have no idea what we're going to talk about for the next 30 minutes. So, Joe, I'm going to throw it over to you because this was your topic idea and you got some stuff to say. So, Joe, he went to a regional yesterday and ended at X-2, right?
Correct.
And he's got some stories, some thoughts he wants to share from that experience.
So, this is where I really felt it yesterday. So I was playing, as all you know, I played Thunder Dragon, so I was playing. And this was my round 2. I was playing against an Orcus player. And this is where the change in competitive mindset versus casual mindset goes. Because, for one, I'm one of those people that I absolutely hate rule sharks. I really do. But you see it more at the regional level and definitely at the YCS level that anyone will do any nitpicking little thing to get a small advantage in the game. And one of the big things is not letting opponents taking their plays back, which a lot of people do, but some people are super scummy about it. And the mindset that I have when I do that is if I'm going to win the match, or if I'm going to win a game at all, I'm going to win it clean. I'm not going to rule shark anyone. But there was an instance yesterday that if I would have said something, it definitely would have put the match in my favor and I would have won instead of taking the L round 2. So, to make a long story short, or just get into it really, I was playing against the Orcus player, and it was our game 1. He won the dice roll. Whatever, he gets to do his thing. And then it swings over to my turn, and I'm in the process of trying to crack his board. I had played through a Fog Blade, an Infinite Impermanence, and I like to say the hand trap was Valor. Oh yeah, it was Valor because it stopped my LP. But we're in a simplified game state where I had Unicorn face up, I had a Colossus on the board, and I just put Colossus on board, and he had the setup where he had the field spell, Symbol Skeleton, all that fun stuff with Dengursu, right? So we get to a situation where he activates a Symbol Skeleton, the special summon Dengursu, and he's going to clear my board. Well, he had messed up, because when he got to the point where he's declaring his effects, he had forgot that Colossus can banish a Thunder to protect itself. So he had used the effect of Phantom Knight, Rusty Bardiche, to target my Colossus instead of my Unicorn, and then use the Dengursu effect, and he was going to send Unicorn. And I was like, okay, if that's what he wants to do. But before he took his hands off the card, he's like, wait a minute, I screwed that up. And he said I wanted to do it this way. Now, being in that scene, or not the scene, but that situation, if I wanted to, I was 100% in the right to tell him, no, you have already declared what you were doing, and we are already resolving the effect. You can't take it back. However, I also understand, especially when it's your first regional or something like that, because I'm pretty sure it was the kid's first regional, that you get nervous, and then certain situations happen, and you're not thinking clearly. And like I said, in the mindset that if I'm going to win it clean, I let him take it back. Ultimately, that cost me the match, because I would have won game 1, and then just handedly won game 2. But instead, he wins match 2-1, and I'm just out the points, and that would have been the difference between me topping yesterday.
Yeah. So for anyone unfamiliar, a verbal declaration of what you are doing oversees the physical action, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So since he declared his chain links and then was settled on them, he should have, there's no rule sharking. That's the rules. But being a nice player, people get nervous. It's early round. Joe let him take it back. So going into an event, I always feel like I'm too nice when it comes to stuff just like that, because I know what it feels like where exactly, you know what you want to do, but either you say something or you're just trying to move too fast because you don't like people waiting on you. It's really frustrating when your opponent's just like, oh, nope, you can't do that. You already said. And honestly, it doesn't really bother me. I know I fuck up, But when it comes down to like winning and losing the match, I always try to stick to it as much as I can.
One of the things, like when I'm playing, like kills me, and I notice it a lot for myself, is when I'm playing, is like when you fan out the graveyard to see what's in there or something like that, or just see what's available to you, and you're pointing to cards, but you're not saying anything verbally. You're just pointing at it to like move or something like that. Some people are like so scummy that the minute you point at the card and then you go to look at another one, even though you haven't declared anything, they're like, "Oh no, you already committed to doing this," and you're like, "What did I commit to doing?" And then they'll call a judge and they're sitting there and they'll waste 10 minutes of your time saying how you declared to do this, yada, yada, yada. And I see that happens to me a lot, especially playing Thunder, because a lot of your stuff you play with the graveyard and you banish cards, right?
Yeah.
And people just try to force you to resolve effects that you had no intention of activating. You never even declared you were activating it, but they take the finger point as the declaration. It's frustrating at a competitive
level. Yeah.
And then, like, especially like when we play at locals, I see that more casual and stuff like that. I'm not nearly as nitpicky as I would be if I was at a regular event. So then I think the problem there, some of the mindset there kind of translates over to the competitive scene, and that's where you see a lot of your frustrations.
Yeah, but it all comes down to a verbal declaration. That's why you need to pronounce your phases, your card activations, your chain links. Like, it's very important. Like, I don't like if somebody points at a card, like they're activating Kagari and they're fanning their graveyard and they haven't said anything. Like, that's not that's not targeting a card. You know, like until they say something, it shouldn't matter. Or at least that's how I look at it.
Yeah, it really shouldn't.
But as soon as you say, like, target Widow Anchor, like, I'm not going to let you take it back and add Afterburners or something like that, you know? As soon as you make that verbal declaration, I just don't think there's any wiggle room at a regional level or higher because, you know, that could be the difference of winning and losing a game.
No, it 100% makes it, and like that's what like I think to me that was like the most eye-opening situation, especially since I like to play competitive, because like that instantly changes my record right there. Instead of starting 1-1, I start 2-0, and you know like that could have changed the entire day.
Yeah, like, really I mean it would have changed every other matchup you had for the last 7 rounds. And that's why when we actually sit down and test, I know it doesn't happen that often, but it's with the timer. It's all actions are final. Like there's no like you need to play test just like you're at a regional scene to prevent that, because when you just play locals every week or you're just playing casually with your friends, that's when you get in the mindset of, okay, whoops, I messed up. Let me just change this real quick, and then you can get kind of screwed over that.
Yeah, you get. That's the problem. Especially that's the problem when you're play testing in a group of friends and stuff like that. When you don't do that kind of stuff, you just get in such a lax mindset, and then like when that doesn't translate over very well. Especially because you got to remember, especially when you go to like YCS, the biggest is where you're seeing YCSs is people are traveling multiple like hundreds of miles. They're taking plane tickets or booking rooms and stuff like that, all because they want to compete and they want to compete at a high level. So then when you take that mindset and you try to translate over there, it just doesn't work out because people are they're going to nitpick at everything, especially at that high of a level.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I'm driving 12 hours or if I'm literally flying to an event, like everything's going to be by the book. Like there's no, it's just the rules are the rules, you know? Like there are certain things like where you're just sharking people, but like if it's in the realms of the rules and you're not like stretching just to waste time to call a judge because you know there's 4 minutes on the clock and they probably won't give you an extension, like that's totally different. But at a regional level, it's so weird because like you do get those situations where you're talking about where it's the kid's first regional and it's like round 2 and like you know what he wanted to do was the right thing, and if he did it exactly what, you know, it would have won him the game and maybe the match.
Those little interactions, those little things that like it completely changes the landscape of an entire game, even the match.
It's just a little. I don't know. I'm just a nice guy when it comes to playing the game, right? Like, I want people to have fun, and when I feel like I'm nitpicking my opponent's actions, like I just feel like an ass, and I don't know if it's I like to be liked by everybody, but I just don't want to ruin anyone else's tournament experience, because if you have to make I mean, it's probably a true call, but if you have to be an ass about it, like, that guy's just going to go after the round, go talk to his friends, be like, just have the worst tournament experience. And, like, I want people to have fun playing this game. It's an enjoyable card game. So
I feel you. Having fun is, like, one of the biggest things, and that's probably why I think that's why, like, part of my decision let me do that. But there are some situations sometimes that I get, like, real, like, what's the word I'm looking at? Not hostile, but, vengeful, I should say. Like, we have a couple people at our locals that some people, I just won't let them take back nothing because I can't stand them. But I think that, well, I mean, I won't name anyone so that we're not stirring the pot or anything like that, but you already know there's situations where I just tell people, nah, you're already resolving that effect, sir.
Yeah. So here's an example from, I want to say it was Indianapolis. It was like right after Thunder Dragon came out. I was playing Striker, and Impermanence was like a brand new card. So I'm playing all my cards, right? And he impermanences my Kagari, I believe. And I was like, cool, whatever. And then I played Desires. It's like half between the middle column and the right column. And before he asks me, before he says anything, he's just like, oh, that's in the middle column. And then he calls a judge. And it's like, okay, man, like, you could have just said something and I would have told you, like, my intention. I just played Engage in the third or the fourth column. Like, why would I play Desires in that column? So I'm fighting with the judge. I lose the judge call because, like, I can't prove anything. And I was like, okay, well, you're a fucking asshole. So the rest of this game, I'm going to be an asshole. And, I mean, I won the game, or I won the match because, I don't know.
But it was the president.
Yeah, it's just like, why did you have to just call a judge before, like, asking the player across from you? That was the most frustrating thing ever. It's like, fine, I'll take the Desires being negated, but, like, I still was in a commanding position. Like, it just made no sense. Yeah, you're just being an ass. I see the guy at regionals now. Like, I talked to him afterwards. I was like, hey, man, like, if you just said something to me, like, I wouldn't have been an asshole after that. So, and then he explained, like, there's, like, a really competitive guy at his locals that sharks everything and he doesn't want to be taken advantage of because it was, like, his second regional.
Mm-hmm. No,
so I was like, all right, cool, man. I just check up on him every time I see him.
I think one of the better ways to explain it, I'm sure we'll have a lot of people get excited about this, but for those of you who ever watch Yu Yu Hakusho, right? So, cool. And some of the quotes he said were great, but I think my favorite one is when, if you ever watch it, there was an episode, and it was in the Dark Tournament, where the one guy was just paying off everything, and they were just getting cheated beyond belief. And then he said it the best. If we're going to win this, we're going to win it clean like men, and that's how we play Yu-Gi-Oh, boys.
Ah, man. And then, all right, so we've been talking about a lot about the competitive. What about the cat? Like, there was probably a point where you weren't nearly as competitive as you are now, right?
Oh, for sure.
Do you remember your first regional?
John?
Yeah. Do you remember the first regional you went to?
Yeah, the very first one I went to. So it was in 2012, and Cosmo Blazer had just came out, and we had some new support for Mermail, and I was playing Water, and I had started 5-0, and I got real lucky because a lot of the people are playing with were really chill and stuff like that. But when I got to the later rounds, like 6, 7, and 8 and stuff like that, that's where people started getting real nitpicky because I didn't realize how important it was the top 8 and stuff like that. I was just a guy simply playing the game because I liked playing the game and I liked playing it at a high level. But, like, my experience from the first 5 rounds to, like, the later 3, it was just, like, it's a 9-day difference. It was just awful, right?
Yeah. Because
I was nervous. It was my first event, and I'm like, I'm 5-0, and I'm playing Water. and new support just came out. Like, I'm super excited about it. But I remember I had misplayed with my diva and summoned the wrong monster. My hand wasn't even off the card yet. Like, I had the infantry in my hand, and I meant to summon marksman because I was trying to go for a catastor play. And that brings back Jesus Christ. I was playing catastor, but my hand wasn't even off the card, and I went to pick it up, and the guy's like, "Oh no, you were." No, I wanted to summon marksman. Because I knew at that time that until your hand is taking off the card, the play's not set in stone. Well, he called a judge, and we sat there for 10 minutes, and the judge told me that there was no way I could prove that I wanted to summon marksman over infantry, and even though my finger was still on the card, I have to summon it at that point. I'm like, wait, well, what?
Yeah, if you're still holding the deck and you haven't removed your hand from the card, that's not committing to the play.
And then there was another situation in that match where the guy did the same thing. He was summoning a rat because he was playing one up. He was summoning rat off of his magician, and he had took his hand, everything, and then picked it back up. And then Wentz is like, "Oh no, I wanted to summon shark." I'm like, "No, we just had this argument, and so I called a judge, but then they rule in his favor." And that put a really, really sour taste in my mouth after that because I was in a bad mood. So then naturally, I lost round 6. Then 7 and 8, and came back and won 9, and that kept me from top 8ing. But it was just like, it was a very frustrating experience for me, especially from a casual standpoint. But like at the same time, I guess it was an eye-opening experience and stuff like that because it changed my mindset from going from locals and then going to regionals and stuff like that. Now I don't do that kind of stuff at locals unless the guy's been sitting there for 5 minutes and for some reason he's like, "Oh, I wanted to attack everything with conductor. I didn't want to book it first." I'm like, no. We're not playing this game. Or, what's another one where you're sitting there and then like, "Oh, but I wanted to set this off Galatea and not." And I'm just like, dude, we are like 6 turns past that.
Yeah, it's like, if it's right after the card resolves at locals, like, maybe I shouldn't do it, but if they want to set, in that example, if they want to set just a different card off Galatea and it's the effect just resolved, it's like, fine, man, just switch it.
I mean, you think about that. That happens at our locals all the time. And like, no one's trying to be vindictive or anything. Like, if that's what you wanted to do, that's what you wanted to do. I don't care. Now, some people are filthy tryhards and they're not going to ever let it go. But, like, man, you're sitting there, you got locals. Most people, like, at our locals, and a lot of them you see, most people are going to play jank anyway because it's locals, no one really cares. Man, you're just there to have a good time, and that's what it's there for. Now, obviously, locals have higher tier events like OTS championships where you can actually earn your invite and stuff like that. But still, like, you're at your locals, you know most of the people, you're good friends with them. Like, no one really cares.
Yeah, half the time you're just talking to them about something irrelevant, and it's like, okay, yeah, man, keep playing. I don't got any hand traps. Like, you'll say that at locals. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you're good, and then you'll just be making conversation. It's a totally different environment.
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna sit there and blatantly tell you, "Oh yeah, man, you're cheating, but it's good, man." That happened.
Unless there's one specific individual who has no idea what any cards do, and he just keeps trying to play them, and every time he is accidentally cheating.
Now you think about it, I really can go for bacon right now.
Yeah. Oh my god! The first time I played against that guy, he just every single action was a invalid activation or like something he was trying to do just didn't. It just wasn't happening. Like, I had to correct him on every single card.
Doesn't give you this time to like respond to anything, and then you have to make really bad Arnold Schwarzenegger quotes toward him. It's no fun.
God. That player is the worst. Where it's like he just especially if he's going for a game, like he's just gonna do everything nonstop and never give you an opportunity to respond. And it's like, slow the fuck down, man.
There's a player that I'll talk about. Like I said, we're not going to name anyone. It's not our nicest guy in the world. I mean, he's great. I love playing with him, but I swear if I have to tell him one more... I should keep it tally because I'm guaranteed it's in the thousands at this point, but I have to tell him one more time that you can't ash during the damage step, I'm going to lose my shit. He does it all the time. If you go on my channel, you can look at how many times people at our locals try to ash during the damage step, and I have to sit there. I'm like, guy, does that say negate the activation? And they're like, oh, no. Then what makes you think you can activate that card? I'm like, because it says negate. And I'm like, the effect, not negate.
I don't get why people have to be told, like, I understand the damage step is somewhat confusing, but after explained one time, like, why can't you remember? I remember the first time I tried to do anything in the damage step was like, for some reason, I attacked a what's the C card that summons itself to your opponent's side of the field and they can't X-2 summon or
Flying C.
Yeah. So and that adds a insect from your deck to your hand or when it's destroyed or something like that.
Oh no.
Which
the
one am I
you're
thinking of?
About, it summons to your side of the field. That's Retaliating C.
Yeah, so I think he had one of those C cards on the side of the field, and it was the one where he got to like search max C if it got killed, right?
Yeah, that's Retaliating C.
Yeah, so he had that on his field, and I made a Dweller, but I didn't use it before I attacked, and then I attacked into it, and he's like, Retaliating C effect, and I was like, Dweller? He's like, can't, it's in the damage step. I was like, okay, can you explain? And he did. And I was like, okay, cool. And I never had any issues since.
Some people just are not willing to let it go, man.
Oh, man.
But then again, I can see where that's kind of like frustrating too, because I know people who have had that explained to them, and then they'll have Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion in their hand. And that one can be activated to a damage step, because that one negates activations, but they just won't play it, and it costs them the game. They're like, well, you just said I couldn't ash in the damage step. I'm like,
yeah, they
because
do
it
different
doesn't negate
things.
the activation.
Yes.
He's like, well, what's the difference? Your card text literally reads negate the activation, guy.
Yeah. It's like one word difference. Negate the activation, negate that effect. Like, totally, or 2-word difference.
Yeah, but I mean, I know a lot of people, like, when you play the game, like, a lot of people have good intentions and stuff like that. Like, Aldo's like the glowing like gold standard of this and stuff like that, because he plays the same way at locals that he would at a region. He doesn't rule shark you. He never raises his voice. But when you commit to something, he makes you commit to it.
Yeah. And I've never been frustrated at a player for sticking to the rules as they are. You know,
yeah, like,
forcing your interpretation of the rule is when I get frustrated. Like what you said with summoning infantry or marksman, where you're like, it's on the field, but your hand's still on it. You're still thinking. And interpretation is that's committing, even though the rule book says one thing, and this guy's calling a judge because it's his interpretation.
Right. Well, it's like I said, if you set that gold standard, if you never raise your voice and you're never rude, you will never have a problem. And that's why I respect like Aldo so much when he plays and stuff. Like, if you guys could actually like go to an event, actually see him play, like I said, he never once raises his voice. He never gets mad at you. He never starts pointing fingers and accusing you of anything. But he, to the letter, will tell you exactly what happened and how it went down and how he approached it to him. And I've never seen a judge call never go in his favor when that happened.
Yeah, and that's where, you know, player experience and knowledge base and just being a good attentive player pays off in his favor, right? That's the high tier. That's that high caliber of player we were talking about a couple episodes ago, where it's just understanding everything going on in the game, paying attention, and knowing how cards work, and you'll never get a judge call wrong.
Exactly.
Unless they're friends.
Then all bets are off. We're going outside. We're boxing. We're throwing hands. I'm just saying.
Slashing tires.
I don't know about slashing tires, but I will politely let the air out because I look too inflated.
With a knife.
No, just my finger, dude. Calm down. We're not bringing weapons into this. Jesus.
Wait. You can't bring weapons into a venue?
I know it's looked down upon. See, that's where you get that mindset of being a Marine, dude. You can't just go in and try killing everyone 6,000 different ways with a pocket knife.
But
or
why?
toothpick.
That's all I know how to do.
Or your chewing gum.
All right, so what are we at? We're at 24 minutes, so we got like a little bit of time left. So overall, and we're halfway through this format, right?
Yep.
We've gone to 2 or 3 regionals. Nats coming up. How, like, do you like this format? Are you enjoying it? Do you feel like it's just like mediocre?
The only complaint I can make about this format is Mystic Mine is an awful deck. I hate playing against it. I hate having to side for it. I hate having to deal with it, but that's my only complaint. I know after playing 3 events now, I think currently right now, as of this moment in our competitive game pool, like Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, most broken card by far.
Yeah.
But
I'm just bored. Cause like I know it's a different format than it was 4 months ago, but it's more or less the same.
yeah, but you get bored after 30 seconds of anything.
That's not true.
Don't sit there and lie to me.
And like I don't want to commit to like buying Alte Hayates when the deck is dead in about 40 days. So I can't play Striker because it's not max rarity.
That's one of the reasons why I haven't been playing Orcus, because I only have 2 Ulti Galateas. I need a third.
Do you play 3 now?
Oh yeah, you 100% play 3. Your turn 1 board, you go into 2, and then the third one's for the grind game.
What's your Orcus count?
I've seen a lot of players. They go 2 Nightmare, 3 Harp. Some of them are playing 2 Symbol Skeleton right now because that does come up. And then they're going back and forth on the Wand. But other than that, that's right. And then you're in your extra deck, you're playing 3 Galatea, and you're playing. It's more and more common now that you're playing 1 Longursu because that card's actually just broken.
Are any of the Orcus monsters themselves 1 card combo or no?
No, all of them need an extender to go with it.
That's
like you can't just summon a harp and go in.
Oh, that'd be awesome if you could.
It'd be insane.
Is it just the once per turn effect? I'm sure comes up.
Yep. But I mean, other than that, like that deck to me is like super insane. Like you just get to do your combo. I still think Thunder Dragon is the most broken deck, but there's some times where I open some really wonky hands, but it's just like after playing the deck so long, you just figure out how to combo. But like, you couldn't just give it to someone and they just pick it up out of nowhere because all they're gonna know how to do is like the Solar Wyvern Burster combo, and that's just not gonna get you there.
Yeah, Orcus has a less power ceiling, but it's easier to manage.
It's gonna do the same thing.
It's more appealing to a player like me. Like I will never play a deck like Danger Thunder because I just can't handle the branching lines of play or like dealing with interrupts. I'm just not that good of a player when it comes to combo decks.
I'm just sitting there. People got to get past the mindset of looking at standard combos. Like they have to be able to play through the junk. Like when you open when you don't open Solar Wyvern Burster, but you open like a Danger, like we'll say like a Defrag Dragon, a Chaos Dragon Legionnaire. Like you have to be able to resource manage it, and people just forget like little like nuances. Like for example, people forget that Chaos Dragon Legionnaires affects a hard once per turn. Its summoning's not once per turn, and that came up for me a lot yesterday because I would draw into a Legionnaire and it was only like my own sender. So I would summon it, not activate the effect, knowing that I could search another Legionnaire in the turn, and then when I got past my combo string, I can summon the Legionnaire to either loop a card out of your hand, or Monster Reborn, or blow 2 cards off the field, because previously in the turn, all I did was summon it, I didn't activate the effect. And people forget that, like, little nuances like that, people forget about it, and it's super important when you're constructing combo strings.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of, like unknown, like that much variance in combo strings because resolve, like let's say you resolve a Tsuchinoko and summons itself, that draw can make your like combo insane. You just never, there's so much things you can't plan for. You just have to know the lines of play and like all the different avenues you can go, and it's just not appealing to me. I like control relatively simple lines of play that require a little bit more thinking on interactions, like your interrupts and stuff, like your Widow Anchors, when to use your. Yeah, I'm just more of a control player.
No, I feel you on that one. It depends what you're comfortable with. Like I used to never play combo decks, and I just play them all the time because their ceiling's so high.
I think I'll always gravitate towards the more simple decks.
Like I broke down that for a little bit and started playing Altergeist there for a little bit, but after that, I just gravitated more to. Summoning big monsters and attacking for games is so much fun.
Yeah. I do want to pick up Salamangreat, but it's all comments. All right, we just hit 30 minutes. Joe, you got any closing comments?
whenever you're at an event and stuff like that, and someone starts to get like real nitpicky with you, just don't take it. The mindset changes whenever you go to a regular event. And unlike this barbecue pork steak I had for dinner, Douglas French has no sauce. Don't forget to check out our podcast. And it's Memorial Day, right?
In an hour.
Thank you for your service.
All right, guys. So it's been Bingo in the Duel Factory with episode 12 of X2 Drop. Check us out every Monday at 8 a.m. on iTunes and Google Play, or on our YouTube channels around 10 o'clock, somewhere in there. But we do have full-time jobs, so if we miss an upload here and there, don't get mad at us. All right, peace out.
Okay, bye!